Thanks for clicking on this episode of Beyond the Breaker. This is a podcast built for you, and we are confident you'll find it worthwhile.
Our goal? Connect people with opportunity. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. It's the best way to support these conversations.
Out of high school, graduate, you go to a four-year college. That's it. That's what you're gonna do.
Did the thing that looked cool then, is it still cool now?
I've definitely been on a few jobs where you're like, it's pretty risky. Try to just keep learning and stay away from the things that you don't.
Is it because there's so many people doing it, or because you just don't stand out?
I would just stay curious, keep learning, and just try to be as hard work as you can.
Welcome to the Beyond the Breaker podcast.
So I joined the Minneapolis Union with 292, the JTC. I really didn't know what I wanted to do with my life, and I just loved being outdoors and fishing, and I just thought that wasn't going to be for me with a job.
Sure.
So I'm like, I needed some money. So I knew the trades were kind of happening, and so I joined electrical school up in Bemidji, and then I've always wanted to join the union. So once I got done with trade school there, I just applied here. And it took me a year to get in because it was an interview process. And then I was a pre-apprentice for a year with a company. And then I had to sign with JTC to do a reapply. And I got in. So
Awesome.
And was that like pre-apprenticeship and the start of that, was that in Bemidji or was that down here in the Twin
No, that was
Cities?
down here. So I never worked in Bemidji. I came back here. And luckily, I found a company that would just hire me as a summer helper.
Sure.
And then I just happened to stay there for a year. And then that gave me some experience, which looked good for the JTC.
For sure.
So, yeah.
And that job where you said they were willing to hire you as a summer helper, was that you just, I don't know, making phone calls, sending in digital applications?
Yeah, I did a lot of applications, and luckily I just it was actually my babysitter from Wisconsin when I was a kid, and she knew one of the owners of the company that was in Wisconsin, and they also had a shop in Minnesota. It was NEI. So then I worked for them, and it turned out great. So,
And I think when you talk about that interview process now with the JATC and in listeners and viewers, if you are somebody who's interested in it, it's not like as much as it used to be, sit down and interview in front of somebody now, right?
Correct. It used to be like 8 to 10 people on the board, and then they would go one by one with questions, and they'd drill you. Yeah. It was like nervous. You're overwhelmed.
What kind of questions would they be asking a kid who wasn't even in yet?
It was kind of the same thing every year because I did it once, and then I did it again. And I'm like, okay, I'm already ready. I know what they're going to kind of ask me. It was same pretty much questions. It was like, how do you handle pressure if somebody gets hurt on a job, or why'd you join, stuff like that. Just very simple questions. Okay. But when you're in a room with 8 to 10 people, you're like, you're pretty.
Well, and you think about it, right? You probably, when you thought, hey, I'm going to go into the trades, you thought you might be getting away from the having to go to an interview, right? That you're thinking I can sign up. But I really like what you did is you said, all right, they told you it's probably going to be a 1 year wait. How do I make myself look better on a resume? And that would be get some experience, go work some pre-apprentice. And that's an actual avenue for in the JATC of if you get pre-apprenticeship hours, that goes towards your point value. So really good on you. And I think to everybody listening and watching, like if you hear that, there's a long delay, or somebody tells you it's really hard to get into the unions because there's so many people doing it, well, is it because there's so many people doing it, or because you just don't stand out as much as the rest? And to that matter, you stood out the second time around.
When I first got interviewed, I think I was on 80 out of a list of 800. And they weren't taking that many people at the time. I think it was kind of in the back end of COVID. So it was kind of a tough time. But then, I found a job and I worked for a year. And it used to be a prerequisite that you had to go to trade school before you went to the JTC. Now they don't have that. And now they actually got rid of the interview process away because now you just have to take an aptitude test. So if you don't like having an interview, it's pretty easy now because you just have to take a test. So. But it was good like just learning curve of how the industry is going to work. So
Good.
I got a question about this points thing. Like I've never heard of this before, and I couldn't pass the math test for sure. What is the points stuff about, and how is that relevant, and what are some of the things that are calculated there?
Do you want me to explain it?
you can go for it.
I'll do it quickly. So it's exactly what Zach did, right? You go to trade school. There's prerequisites to your resume. So when you submit online in your application, you fill out, do I have trade school experience? Yes or no. What is that, right? So then when it comes down to scoring an individual, like you would in an interview process, how they do, right?
Yeah.
How they answer this question. Now it's like, how well does their application line up with what we want in? So if you have trade school experience,
Sure.
right, you learned the ins and outs of electrical construction. Do you have work experience? Those are the top
Top two, 100%.
Sure.
top two, right?
Okay.
Like if you have those two items, then that list of 80 out of 800, you're going to be towards the top.
Okay.
And rightfully so. Like that's the kind of stuff you don't need to speak well. You don't need to interview well. If you have the work experience and the book knowledge to be an electrician,
And you're going to add value to that
you add
company right
value,
away.
right?
Yeah,
You-
because after I worked for the year for the work experience, the next time I interviewed, I was 2 out of 800.
Yeah.
So it was like an easy
So,
done deal.
and then to add to that, if somebody is listening and watching, it's that work experience, it's references from union shops, it's other relatable industries. So it's like working in the electrical department at Menards.
Yeah.
Sure.
Think
Because you're going
about
to get familiar with the vocabulary, the commodities.
Yep, the materials, all that.
when you look at it from our perspective, working at Bear Manufacturing.
Sure.
So
Okay.
working non-union. That's another avenue.
Sure, because all of that counts as relevant experience and somebody
Yep.
they can bring in.
Yep.
Cool. Thank you. I
Yeah.
knew there was like points on a resume before.
Well, it's since changed how the process works. But Zach, so you mentioned you did the interview.
Yep.
What year apprentice are you now?
I'm actually a journeyman now.
No,
Hey-o!
congratulations.
Yes, thank you. Yeah, I was 5th year this year, and then I passed. Took my journeyman test on June 8th.
Very nice.
Oh, so you're like freshy fresh.
Yeah, fresh, right out
All
the
right.
bottle. Yeah.
Congratulations.
So you know everything now.
Yeah.
Yep. Yeah.
Well, they say no better time to take your master's than right after you get your journey.
Yeah, that is true. Especially, I think the 2029 code is going to change
Oh, yeah, you
dramatically.
better get on that.
So yeah,
So can you talk a little bit from your perspective, the apprenticeship and the value that you got out of it leading up to taking your JW exam for the state, and what did you learn during that apprenticeship? What did you really appreciate both in the classroom aspect of it as well as in the field?
yeah. So what I could like really take away is when I went to trade school in Bemidji, there was 2 teachers that were from 292, and they were very good. They were very smart. And when I got to, I always compared to like that was high school and the JTC was college. It was like through the depths, like diving into like specifics of the code. And it was actually a lot for me the first year because I'm like we just learned the 2 years of this, and it was like nothing I learned before. But it was really good experiences to kind of figure out stuff like that. And then with the work experience, it was, I mean, from my first job to today's job, like it's a learning curve every single day. So that's what I love about this job. And that's what is so cool about this industry is like I can do something new every single day, and you can't like pick out a point. You can figure out what you like, but you always want to keep learning because this industry is so big.
Nice.
When you think about some of those things that were interesting to you as you were relatively junior in your apprenticeship, like did the thing that looked cool then, is it still cool now? Or did you really kind of shift perspectives like, oh yeah, I want to pull big wires?
100%, yeah. Because you always want to like when I was doing some work with doing like pulling 600 copper, and you're like, this is cool. Like you're big girly man. You just like think you're just top dog, and then you're like when you get home you're like that was awful. Why would I sign up to do that? But yeah, it's stuff like that. It's cool. Like when I was in school, I hated pipe bending. I hated it. I was scared of it. And then now it's like my favorite thing to do because it's like an art. So yeah, it's just you kind of learn what you like and you learn what you don't like, and you try to just keep learning and stay away from the things that you don't like.
And today, like, what are you said pipe bending is cool for you.
Yep.
Anything else that like you've maybe accidentally discovered that you do really enjoy?
Ooh, good question. Definitely pipe bending. Kind of doing a little bit of service work. It's definitely not for the faint of heart because some of it is a headache, but it's really good just to do like problem solving. Just figure out what's this is wrong, this is right, and you kind of break it down step by step until you get it right, and then you just you feel really accomplished about it.
Yeah, because you're coming into a situation where something's goofed up.
Yeah, somebody messed up before, or hell, you might even messed up before, and then you just kind of figure out what you made mistakes.
Yeah, I like it.
How about from a field team perspective, right? You mentioned the service side of it, right? You're kind of on your own there. You might have somebody else with you.
Yep.
When you worked on some bigger projects, we've had PMs and PXs on this podcast before. We've talked about building that team culture. The same has to happen in the field, and that really does start with the general foreman, the foreman. And obviously trickles down to like, when you're the fifth step apprentice, there's going to be younger apprentices probably looking up to you. So what did you enjoy about that as an apprenticeship? What do you enjoy about that in the field of the team component and everybody kind of piecing together what becomes a great project?
Yeah. I love a team. I've always been in sports as a kid, and I was captain of my baseball team. So I always love the leadership aspect and kind of create a family or a team for a project. And honestly, that's why I've loved Hunt so much. I've worked with so many good general foremen and foremen that it's just like, it's made it really easy to come to work and work as a team to figure out problems that we need to. But yeah, it's really fun when you kind of meet people, and then especially with Hunt, with a big company, you meet some people, and then you maybe go to a different job for the year, and then the next year you see them back again. Yeah. And it's like, it's kind of cool to just catch up with people like that.
Yeah, nice.
When you're, I hope you know you're giving advice to lots of other folks who maybe aren't quite, at the level you are moving through the program. But what kinds of things would you tell them to like look for, both to like get or avoid big contractor, small contractor, anywhere in the country? Like, what are things that apprentices should look out for and be like, ooh, if a company does that, that's a really good thing. I want to be a part of that.
Definitely safety is one. That's a big one, because I've definitely been on a few jobs where you're like, it's pretty risky and it's just not worth the risk. But maybe somebody higher up is just like, you got to get it done. And we're all trying to go home at the end of the day. So that doesn't seem like a great company to me. Cares about your safety. And then just something small, just like cares about who you are as a person.
Sure.
Like, it's like with like bigger companies, you could just be a number, but that's why I've always liked a smaller shop. But when I've worked at Hunt, they've been nothing more accountable to who I am and who I am as a person, what I want to do, what I want to learn, what I can help them. So yeah, it's could be a scary ride for a couple people out there, because there's a lot of companies that aren't probably the greatest at trying to learn or teach you the things that you need to learn to be successful in your apprenticeship or even in your journey worker's life. But yeah.
I think when you say that as well, though, that's the great thing about being in the apprenticeship with the JATC, right? That you have an entire advocacy school for you in the JATC to say, hey, I'm just not getting this. Can you help me out? Can you help me with this kind of conversation with my general foreman or my employer?
Yeah.
That's the great representation that the JATC and the union has, and I think why it's such a admirable career path for people is the protection as a worker there. You mentioned safety, number one. That's first and foremost. That's right there. Same thing with the union.
Yeah, the JTC, like, I can't speak on behalf of other ones, but the 292, they're just like a nice home. They love teaching you the most that they possibly can, even if it's not about electrical. It could be literally anything. They're the faculty and the teachers are amazing. I couldn't think highly of them. So.
Beautiful training center as well. Yes. So are we speaking to apprentice who received recognition recently?
I believe so. I don't know if I could be somebody else. Is there another guy behind me?
We have no other interviews today.
Oh, okay. Yeah, it might be me then. I don't know.
Okay. Is it an apprentice of the year?
Yes.
All right. Well, first, congratulations.
Thank you.
Second, let's boast about yourself a little bit here.
Sure, yeah.
Why do you think you won that award? And I'm more so asking it from, similar to Ben's question, what are attributes that you bring to the job every day and try and help others with as well that would say, Zach's the apprentice of the year. He does this day in, day out. That's why he is going to receive that recognition. What do you do on a daily basis that you feel gets you that?
I think a huge thing that gets talked about a lot is literally just showing up and being on time.
Yeah. First two things to start the day.
Yeah, I've worked with a lot of people that either they don't even call or they show up 20 minutes late, 30 minutes late. But yeah, that's a huge thing. But I've also been, like I said, been in a lot of team sports, and I just know like how a team functions and how a team should be successful. And I've worked with a lot of foremen. I've worked with a lot of journey workers, a lot of apprentices. It's just, I kind of just do what I can to do to help anybody at the job. It doesn't even have to be with our company. It could be mechanical. It could be plumbers. It could be anybody. If I can get out of their way and if they like me, then I can maybe work in a room with them or something simple as that. Mm-hmm. But yeah, it's just maybe just being well liked. I'm not sure.
I'm hearing punctuality.
Yeah.
Forward thinking.
Yes.
And being a team player.
Yeah.
Like, unfortunately, and please don't take this as anything other than like praise and admiration for the way you're showing up, but like these are basics. Yes. Like I kind of expect that out of my children, my teammates, the people I get to work next to. Like, do what you say you're going to do, and say what you mean. Mm-hmm. Right? Like, I think we can do this.
Yeah, yeah.
And I think what I would say, if we asked everybody around who said, who is our apprentice of the year, there's a difference between doing it and doing it really well. Mm-hmm. It's consistently showing up on time and showing up every day, or communicating that, hey, something happened. Mm-hmm. I can't. It's a consistently forward thinking and helping out other trades. It's not just a one-off hoping somebody mentions your name a week down the road. It's like, I'm just going to do it every day because it's the right thing to do.
Yeah, yeah. And it's like every foreman's different. You have to kind of be not a people pleaser, but you kind of have to know how people function. Like I work with foremen where they're very strict what they want to see, or it's, hey, you got to run this pipe to this box over here. Do what you got to do. Like just plan it yourself. And that's what I love to do, because I've always had a foreman that said like piss poor plan is piss poor performance.
Totally.
And I've always liked the thinking of how the job works. What should I do? Maybe what's going to happen in the future. Maybe I run a spare pipe, or maybe I run some spare wires or something like that, where that might save your neck in a couple months from down the road.
Mm-hmm.
But that's how I've always thought. And some of the foremen don't think that way, probably because they want to save some pennies or whatever you want to do. But maybe if you suggest it to them, maybe they go with it, and you're forward thinking, you're thinking about it, and that's what they like to see for sure.
Nice. Yeah.
If you don't mind, I want to use that as a segue to like think more about the future. Some of the kind of general topics we've heard on this podcast in the past are about, hey, we need more folks in the trades. There aren't enough construction workers replacing those leaving. We've heard some folks talk about technology changes and tools. Mm-hmm. What an electrician used to do isn't quite the same as what they're doing today or going to do in the future. So as we're asking you to predict the future now, good luck. But when you think about what will electricians be doing in the next 5 to 10 to 20 years, and how do we need to prepare ourselves and the next generation coming through the JATC and learning on the job? What are things they need to be ready for, and what should we plan on?
Yeah, that's a loaded question, but
for sure. That's why you're in the hot seat.
Or the first one.
It's. I mean, with this industry just blowing up with data centers are huge now, and like they require a lot of work, and a lot of overtime because they want to be done right now. But that for a commercial side, and then residential side, everybody's getting Teslas, or electric car chargers. Sure. Everybody needs
electric vehicles are a thing.
Oh yeah, everybody needs maybe even with you get a car charger, you're gonna need a service upgrade. Like there's tons of things like that, and the grid's only gonna get bigger. It's not gonna slow down anytime soon. So yeah, that's where I see the future going, and we're gonna need a lot more electricians, especially with data centers, because especially traveling ones, because there's a lot of them going up right now.
When you talk about the need for electricians, and you mentioned earlier, right, you didn't know what you wanted to do out of high school, and we've mentioned this 1,000 times in this podcast, that's fine. That's actually probably even better because it allows you to discover more when you're a little more mature.
Yeah.
You said that so nicely.
Yeah.
I just made mistakes. Like lots of them repeatedly.
Yeah, learn from your mistakes.
Wasted a lot of time and money.
I was talking about everybody else, Ben.
Okay.
But that's something that's fine. We have, high schools that have trade classes.
Yep.
Some may not. What would be your advice to younger high school students or young adults, maybe looking for a career change in the sense of, I don't know what I want to do, but I kind of like these things. What's your advice to just them and getting started?
Yeah, I would say if your high school definitely has some kind of trade schools or a shop class or something, just maybe even just try it. You don't have to like it, and just try it. See if you do. But yeah, I remember my high school was just out of high school, graduate, you go to a 4-year college. That's it. That's what you're gonna do. You're gonna go to 4 years, and then you're gonna start a job. And not everybody has that same career path. And I would say for the better for me, it worked out great where I went to college and then I'm like, this isn't for me. And I'd rather know that before I go. But I would maybe have a cousin, maybe have a family friend or a parent, maybe talk to them that have been in the trades and see what they think. Yeah. That's how I would keep asking questions.
I think it goes back to be curious, and that's in everything, right? A lot of industries say remain curious throughout your career. And that's just curiosity first and foremost. Just ask somebody, call them, talk to them for 15 minutes, and they may say, "You shouldn't do this. I hate my job." And then when you hear that, call somebody else. Because that's just one opinion. And on vice versa, somebody says, "I love it. You should absolutely do it." Maybe call 2 people.
Yeah, it's like, what's wrong with you that you love that?
You just outweigh your options.
Yeah, that's good. So you just passed journey worker exam again. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Can you talk to what that process was like and maybe some tips for those apprentices who are in their fourth, fourth year, getting ready to prepare for that?
Sure. Yeah. So I would say 5th year apprenticeship is way harder than the journeyman's test.
Okay.
So because we get tested like pretty much bi-weekly, and then we get our final exam, which is roughly 8 to 10 hours. And that's, I think, it was like 180 questions, and you can take a break if you want. The journeyman's test, journey worker's test, is 80 questions, and it is not as difficult as that test because it's not as mind-numbing.
Sure.
Or for one, it's like you're through a gauntlet for 8 hours taking a test. That's the longest test you're going to take. Yeah. But it's definitely more nerve-wracking taking your journey worker's test because you get maybe you're in this big room with some of your classmates, some random people you've never met, and you're like, this is what I've been working for years. And like, I'm 27 now, and I've been in school for 26 years, I guess. So so it's like
forever.
Ever since I've been turning the light on, I've been in school.
I've been in school, and it's like this test is my last test that I really have to take, and it is nerve-wracking. But as soon as you kind of just like settle your mind, you get back into the test, and you just go to work. You just dial in and you start answering questions.
And with that test, is the focus on you have every line memorized in every page?
No.
Or is it about application and where to find the information in a reference?
Exactly. Yeah. So it's
open
a term
book test.
it's an open book. So it's called like codology, but you kind of know you've been in, I mean, if you go through the JTC, you've been in through 5 years of the code. Like you should have a good understanding where most things are just by a word. You should kind of know where it is.
Sure.
But yeah, but it takes a lot of work to do that because I've been in the code I went to trade school and this, so I've been in it for 6 years. And some things I still don't know where they are. Yeah. But it is, being in a book for 6 years, yeah, you should have a good understanding of where things are.
I can appreciate that.
Yes.
Just to see if there's anything that stands out to you, is there a particular like line, code, section, something that you still think is like really dumb, is really bad, and could be improved? Or is that not a fair question?
I would just
you're
say,
gonna get roasted.
I would say in general, the code book is worded awfully. I think everybody will agree with that.
Okay.
It's maybe just because they don't want your average Joe to know that, just like to read the thing, and then you can just pass your journeyman's license.
Okay.
But yeah, it's some things it might have been written by Shakespeare or something. But yeah, it's
a lot of words.
Yeah, a lot of words for a lot of nothing.
Yeah.
So, but
that's a fair response. Yeah, thank you.
But yeah, you can. That's what you're in school for. That's how you navigate and kind of figure out what were they trying to say at this time. But yeah, it's definitely not worded the best, but you can still read it.
I would say everybody learns differently. I know that the JATC offers study sessions and study groups. Was there something in particular that you did to get ready for it that really helped you and maybe it will help others?
I know there was plenty of study sessions, and a lot of students, they did very well doing that. And there was actually some really good students that would kind of put themselves out there and host them. I never partake because when I was like in my second year, third year, I had a very strict teacher in my second year who was just like, you are asked a lot out of us. And so I studied probably an hour to 2 hours every night.
Nice.
And that would have been maybe a little overkill, but it made me start the building blocks of what you need to know. Because if you don't know the basic functions and the building blocks of how the code works and electrical works, you can't go farther past the standards. So I'd say you just kind of keep grinding. I mean, they give you a lot of homework, so homework does help doing that. But yeah, it's.
And I think through that process, and you briefly mentioned it previously, it's like, a lot of people will go through high school and say, what is this? There's no application for
When
this.
am I going to use
like,
this?
do I need to know where this country is? Probably not. No.
Yeah.
But when you talk about like the application in year 2, that's in 3 years, 4 years. I'm going to take a test. Now, on the other side of that test is a substantial promotion. Mm-hmm. If you look at it that way, right? And it's a substantial promotion into a well-built-out career.
Yeah,
that could be.
Yes.
So I think it's again, and you said it, keeping that mindset of this is why I'm doing it. And when you sat in the test, you kind of like calm down and realize, right, I've been studying this for 26 years.
Yes,
really aggressively for the last 5.
Yeah.
And there's a $ promotion on the back end.
Yeah, that is nice thing with the apprentice, because like you kind of see like first year apprentices and second year's apprentices are like, I gotta wait three more years for this. I can't do this anymore. Mm-hmm. But then you like get that third year and you get like a bigger check and you're like, okay, I think I could stick this out pretty good. And you see the finish line. It's like and you're like, yeah, that's where I want to go. Mm-hmm. And I mean, with the JTC, if you don't like it, you just drop out and do something new. They're not gonna force you to keep going to the school, and you really don't have to pay anything, honestly. But if you stick out with your JTC, you don't pay a dime. They pay for everything. Mm-hmm. So yeah, it's a very good laid out system to keep pushing yourself forward.
Yeah, and I think it's just getting that mindset too of like, I am working. Mm-hmm. I'm going to school, but you as a first year, as a second year, you are getting paid.
Yes.
You're working 4 days, and like you said, that third year, Now you're talking a little bit more pay, benefits, all that stuff. I mean, you have a job.
Yes.
You're just slowly each year getting a promotion.
Yeah. And it's cool when you start out with like your first year and second year, like where I went to trade school, so I knew something and had a year experience. But if you come right out of college in your first year and you're like so overwhelmed with like, I know nothing about this. And then you get to the job and you're like, there's a lot of people here and I don't know shit. But it's like, it's pretty cool to look back at when I was like my first day on my job. And then I'm like, wow, I was so green that I didn't know what I was doing. But now it's like, listen, focus. And then you get like your journey workers or foremen, like, do it this way. And you're like, my brain doesn't work that way. I haven't done this for 30 years.
Explain that to me differently, please.
Yeah, draw me a picture. But no, it's definitely, you just gotta be like curious, and you just gotta go into it and have an open mind of what you're gonna do, because it's not always that like great in the beginning, but it does get greener for sure.
Yeah.
When you talk about that milestone and that progression, one of you guys talked about like, hey, there's that finish line that you're looking at. But like, is that the finish line, or is that just one more step for you?
I think it's one more step. I had said finish line just because I'm kind of done with schooling, but I'm honestly you're not, because you learn every day, and there's so many like niches and electrical where the JTC still teaches just summer classes to training workers and apprentices and stuff like that.
Like continuing education kind of things?
Continuing ed, but they also still teach other classes like building automation. They still teach like big pipe bending and stuff like that. They still teach those classes, and you can just sign up for it, and you can tell your company like, hey, maybe they'll even pay for it, where you're like, I want to go do this class and maybe start learning this stuff. And they're like, why not? Sure.
Okay.
So yeah, they have endless opportunities of like classes and to just keep learning. So yeah, it's pretty cool.
Yeah, I think from that standpoint, like all the rules that you talked about of what makes you an Apprentice of the Year candidate still apply. Right? What makes you more employable after you pass that state exam,
100%.
right? And it's continuing to show up on time, and then there's opportunities to be in a field leadership role and run jobs and general foreman, run even bigger jobs. So it's like there's a halfway line. Finish line?
Yeah. I mean,
finish line, and then you move up to the next league.
Yeah, you just keep setting new goals.
Yeah, like once you set your goal, and then you're like, maybe that wasn't enough. Maybe I'll keep going, and then maybe you'll be a CEO of a company. A lot of people, like it's endless of what you can do once you get your journey workers license, because it can go into so many career paths. You could be a PM, you could be someone that does bid jobs, you can do anything. Yeah, so it's pretty cool what you can do.
Nice. So, going to put it on record here. What are some of your next goals and next steps? It's kind of the cheesy question. Where do you see yourself in 5 years? But also, like, what do you see as goals for yourself, in the industry, beyond bending pipe and pulling wire?
Yeah. I've always wanted to just try a little bit of service work. And I've always wanted to run jobs and have like a team. Because like I said, I've always loved team sports. I've been a captain. I feel like I know how to be a leader. So I think that would be kind of my goal, not my finish line, is to maybe have a team, run some work, and do stuff like that.
Heck yeah.
Yeah.
Does the JTC, or like, are there classes on like field leadership training?
Yeah, they do a prerequisite of leadership training. So they take 1 day. You get that in your 5th year. So
everybody does.
Yeah, everybody takes it. And it's, I can't remember how many hours, but it was like 2 to 4. And you kind of go through a class and you kind of figure out like what leadership should be, how it looks like, what it shouldn't look like, stuff like that. So, yeah.
NECA also offers field leadership training throughout as well.
Okay.
So through local chapters, it's and it's even like kind of continuing ed. If you are already a field leader, you can go to that and say, here's what's new. Here's kind of the new trends. Here's the code updates that you should really know.
And I would imagine too, and I guess shame on me for not doing some research ahead of time, but like even if you're not like in a super urban environment, you're not a huge company, that there's additional resources out there to go get some leadership training. And I would imagine a lot of companies that want to grow their folks will look for that sort of thing too.
Yeah, and it's great. Like even the JTC will like you don't have to be in the union to go to the JTC and learn a class. Like they will take anybody that you pay for the class, and you just
Awesome.
show up.
Yeah, and to that end, we'll put some notes on the screen so that folks have an opportunity to go look at some websites and pull some things down and get more educated. Yeah. Love that. Sure. Cool. Zach, this is always meant to be a two-way conversation. So if you got some questions, you can throw them out.
Yeah, I
Or if there's some final thoughts that you have before we wrap up here, what do you want to leave folks with? How do you want to make sure that we're connecting others with the same kind of opportunities that you've had and paying it forward?
Yeah, I would just kind of want to answer. Be curious. Just keep trying to learn. Like this industry's not going to change, and it's going to keep growing. There's going to be so many different things from 5 years, 10 years. It's not going to be the same. Every year it grows. I just remember like my foreman talking about how it was so different back in the day. And now it's like
you're gonna say that same
Yeah,
stuff.
it's like right now it's actually really cool of how some of these bigger jobs are laid out with like their 3D printing modules and stuff like that, and you can figure out where every pipe should go mechanically, ductwork, HVAC, all that stuff. It's already laid out, and my foreman keeps saying like the future is just gonna be a building block. It's just gonna be Legos. Like once you just get to the building, it's just gonna be stack, and it's pretty cool to see where it's going because it's getting very tech, and especially with AI now and stuff like that, it's going to be a lot smarter, engineered wise, and it's going to be really cool. But I would just stay curious, keep learning, and just try to be as hard work as you can. So
I love that.
Yeah.
Zach, thanks so much for coming in
thank you.
And being vulnerable and honest about your responses. Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you, Zach.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Boom. There it is.
Beyond the Breaker is powered by Hunt Electric, a nationwide electrical contractor established in 1965.
At Hunt Electric, our mission is to be the most reputable and sought-after partner in the industry. Thanks for listening.